And a very pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of JMU Sound Off. I am Jonathan McNamara, coming to you, as always, from Richmond, Virginia. It's a victory Sunday for the Dukes after they dispatched Coastal Carolina on Thursday night in front of a nationally televised audience. We're going to get to all the discussion around that game and what was an incredible atmosphere inside Bridgeford Stadium. I want to start right off the top just by saying congratulations to everyone who made that possible, whether you're not only a member of the football team, the coaching staff, a support staff member, people who put the pom-poms in the stadium, the band, everyone who came together to make that a special night in Harrisonburg. And again, to show the nation what makes JMU such a special place. It takes a village to make that possible. And of course, we want to recognize everyone who had a part, as well as everyone who made plans to get there on Thursday night. I know that there was a lot of things pulling people in different directions, but to sell out the stadium the way we did is just a great example of what is possible for this program. So congratulations. We're going to talk about all of that. We're also going to look forward to this week's game down in Georgia as the Dukes take on Georgia Southern. We're also going to welcome Matt Roan to the discussion tonight to get his look at the midway point of the football season, as well as to look forward to what's going on in JMU athletics. But as always, we want to start off our show by recognizing our sponsors, the Montpelier Collective. As we've mentioned the last couple of weeks, there is still time for you to get your Coach for the Day raffle ticket. This is an incredible opportunity for you to see firsthand what it's like to be a Division I football coach on a game day. This will take place at homecoming against Southern Miss, again, on October 26th. You can get your raffle tickets at MontpelierCollective.com. Let's show this staff, who's been so gracious in their access for this opportunity, what the JMU Nation can do when we come together to buy these tickets. Again, all of your support that goes into that opportunity helps student athletes across JMU athletics. This is also a special week for the Montpelier Collective, as there will be a women's soccer takeover. So if you're following their accounts all week, you're going to see what it's like to be a women's soccer Duke. And then we'll have some of the members of the women's soccer team on next week's show. So stay tuned for that. Also want to give a shout out to our friends from Where's Woody. You're starting to see a lot more of the Where's Woody gear inside Bridgeford Stadium. That's because you have been flocking to their website to get that great gear. Again, Mike Norwood, an alum of JMU, gives back to JMU through the collective, as well as the support of the Duke Club. So if you want to support a great JMU-owned company, Where's Woody? Also want to thank our friends from Talent Corp, Jared DeRuby, yourpurplenation.com, now with stores in Richmond, Northern Virginia, and Virginia Beach. And then finally, Shoker Enterprises. Special shout out to the Shoker family for what they have done to help people impacted by Hurricane Helene in the state of North Carolina. It was great to see the Shokers recognized on the field for their efforts. And we know so many other Dukes are doing their part to help people, whether it's in North Carolina or the state of Florida, as we've mentioned multiple times on our social channels. However you give back, whether it's through your volunteer work or through your financial contributions, it makes a big difference in the lives of those who have been impacted. And with that, we're going to bring on the other members of our Sound Off team, Steve Brown and Taylor Atkins, as well as Michael Evangelista. Guys, what a night inside Bridgeford Stadium. Steve, I'm going to start with you because you got the pom-poms. Your first thoughts after what was a special night in Harrisonburg, a cool fall night in the Berg.
It was fantastic, outstanding night. It was electric, even in the afternoon with the ESPN show on from 2 to 3. It was great, and you could feel it building. And then when the students were in there at 60 minutes before, and when Coastal ran out there with 48 minutes to go before kick, and they got booed louder than they've ever had anybody in their own stadium, I knew that was the turning point of the game. So it was a great night, consistent. All three phases, excellent execution in all three phases, and the fans did a great job.
Awesome. Taylor.
Historic night, and we'll probably talk later in the show, but the students and their engagement and the way they've shown up, not just for that game Thursday night, but all season, have been unprecedented, and we'll praise them a lot more later in the show. I do want to give a first-time listener shout out to my buddy Michael Schaefer. He is the biggest JMU fan in Vol Nation as a Tennessee alum, so he's listening now. I wanted to say thank you to him. Michael, we'll go to you.
Yeah, before we talk about the game, I just want to say thank you all for some of the kind words. I was out last week. We were back and forth from Florida dealing with aftermath of Helene and then prepping for Milton. So I just want to say a quick shout out to a lot of folks across JMU Nation with the kind words over the last couple of weeks. But Thursday, man, I couldn't be more proud. I know I joked around saying, everyone, you've got a 9-month notice to book your PTO, 6-month notice, 3-month notice, whatever. Man, we showed out. And by the way, watching the replay, Bridgeforth with the whiteout was just gorgeous. And it was just beautiful, spectacular. All the things that even Matt Berry and I forgot who the other host was, the former Florida, Ben Mullen, were talking about the atmosphere across JMU and how it even I think the Coastal announcer was talking about how it rivaled ACC environments as well. So I'm just super proud to be part of this amazing fan base, and hopefully we'll see that again and again, week over week.
Awesome. Well, guys, we want to change the order around tonight because our co-host on JMU Sound Offs during football season, Mr. Mickey Matthews, is currently at a wedding, and he wanted to show his dedication to us tonight of how much he wants to give his thoughts each and every week. So he may be doing the electric slide. He may have a drink in his hand. Mickey, first of all, what's playing in the background? What's the DJ spinning these days?
Well, I put a request in to play the Bee Gees and Roy Orbison, and they did both, which I don't know. None of you guys know who those people are, but there are people.
I know the Bee Gees.
The Bee Gees and Roy Orbison. And fact is, when they played Roy Orbison, immediately Kay looked at me and said, "I saw you talking to that guy," and I said, "That is correct." So they did play "Only the Lonely" by Roy Orbison, and they did. But the good thing is they didn't ask me to come up and sing, which is a good thing.
All right. Well, if the DJ turns on "Staying Alive" or "How Deep Is Your Love" and you feel the urge to get going, hey, it's an internet forum. Don't hold back. Mickey, first question for you. One of the things you've always said since I've known you is that I've always said that JMU has limitless potential. As a program, as an institution, as a school. Thursday night for me personally, as somebody who started as a fan in 2001, was kind of just one of those moments where you could see the limitless potential in real life with 9,000 students plus in the building, a full crowd, a whiteout on a Thursday, and especially with the contrast of so many other schools and these weeknight games don't have that atmosphere. It had to be pretty special, I imagine, for you to see just one more example of the JMU Nation living up to the potential and showing the nation what makes us so special.
Well, here where I play golf in Myrtle Beach, I play golf with a lot of North Carolina guys. So I've been rather arrogant and probably rude since I told the next time we played North Carolina, we were going to send our varsity down. We sent the JV down. They beat Carolina pretty good. So I've been rather obnoxious, which is good. It's always fun when you win. And then this time, of course, everyone out here I would tell them we were going to play Coastal. We have a lot of Coastal people at my club where I play. So on Friday morning, I played golf. Of course, that was the talk of what you're talking about. Was exactly right. They could not believe the atmosphere of the game. I think probably, all of us are worried about the football. How many times we run the ball, throw the ball. But, if you're just a casual fan, unless you know the JMU Nation and what we have up there, that was a total surprise to all those people. That's all I heard Friday. What a stadium. What a crowd. What a this, what a that. And I think that's true. When you have an opportunity to show yourself, you need to put your best foot forward, and we did that Thursday night.
Coach, I got a quick question for you. You've had some legendary defenses at your time at JMU, and you always believe that as long as you're the head coach of JMU, we were going to be good on defense. Tell us a little bit about what you saw from JMU Thursday night. I mean, Coastal's offense was averaging 400 yards a game, I think 33 points per game, and we held them to 181 total yards and 7 points, which they scored in the first quarter. What did you see? Was it up front? Was it the DBs? Was it the linebackers flying around? Tell me what you noticed.
I just thought we really played hard. I've told many people this, the difference between coaching offense and coaching defense is you can't punt on defense. When you coach offense, you run 3 bad plays, punt, and you coach defense, you can't do that. So you have to play so hard on defense. When the other team has 3 good plays and I go punt the ball, they're going to keep going. So when I watched our defense Thursday night, I couldn't believe how hard we were playing. We got great pressure with 4. We got great edge pressure. Yeah, I just thought the defensive staff did a terrific job. That was the strength of their football team, as you mentioned. Coastal's they're okay. on defense. But let me tell you, offensively, they had scored a bunch of points and had given Virginia a hard time and had done a terrific job. And I absolutely thought we played great defense. I mean, we just, I thought our rushing the passer was good. We kept good rushing integrity. There was no place for the quarterback to scramble. We covered the guy. We played the ball at his highest point. There were no yards after the catch. It was hard to find anything bad about the way we played. But I think we played defense really good all year long.
So, Coach, one more question for you. I thought our depth really showed on Thursday. We had guys making plays all over the field that were maybe on the 2 deep, 3 deep. Tell the fans a little bit. We always talked about we brought in a lot of 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year players from different programs, players that played a lot of snaps, maybe not in your P4, P5, not the Georgias of the world, but players that played a lot of football. And I feel like that's showing right now with depth halfway through the season. Can you speak to a little bit about the advantages of bringing in a 21, 22-year-old player versus, say, an 18-year-old that's got all the potential in the world, but has never really strapped it up and played D1 ball?
Good question. They absolutely, when you're an older player, you've been there, done that, and you get it. And nothing's going to surprise you during the game, and I thought this when I went to the Charlotte game. I thought we were doing a terrific job of rotating players. Of course, Sam Daniels, the defensive line coach, he has purple blood like I do. So, Sam's that's the way he was raised, to rotate defensive linemen. But I thought they did a good job of rotating kids during the game, and that pays dividends as the season goes along. Like, we had an offensive lineman, I believe, go down the other night, and that was, you asked me about defense, but when you rotating kids, and they're going to go down, it's a contact sport. And when they go down, you've got to have someone that's had some playing time and knows what they're doing. But I thought defensively, having older players was good. And like I said, it was hard to say anything bad. I mean, the other thing, they had 8 first downs in the game. Coastal Carolina. I mean, unbelievable.
Hey, Mickey, I was going to ask you, because last week we talked a lot about the resilience that Alonzo Barnett has shown, because he's had the highest of high moments so far in the season. And he's had some moments where there were some doubters and people questioning him. And you've talked a lot about his growth as a quarterback, as he's working what it means to be a Division I quarterback. To have a game like Saturday on Thursday night where he has 4 touchdowns again, it just continues to show that he's taking steps towards being what we all think he can be. Which is one of the, if not the best quarterback in the Sun Belt. I'm just curious what you saw from him in his continued growth on Thursday.
Well, the thing he needs to work on, it's obvious the coaches have been spending a lot of time with him. He has a lot more touch on the ball. It wasn't a really catchable ball early. One of you guys mentioned one time that we had more drop passes than we had all last year. And I don't know about I can't compare receivers. I don't know enough about last year's guys and this year's guys. But that's because, his touch throwing the intermediate pass is the biggest improvement. I just think when you see those short crossing routes and those short hitch screens we run, those things need to be completed. You can't throw them in the dirt. You can't throw them over the receiver's head. And I think his improvement in those areas are dramatic. And that's not by accident. That's by coaching. And that's the guys emphasizing that with him. We ran a few new plays the other night. We ran the zone read a couple of times. I know once I saw we might have run it one more time. So that anytime you could run that play 3 or 4 times a game, that gives other defensive coordinators, they know you've got it. That's still the hardest play in football is the zone read, the option. And we ran it a couple of times the other night, and I think he'll get better at stuff like that. The more we do stuff like that with him, we're going to be a better football team.
Coach, one last question for you. They had Coastal's quarterbacks, Ethan Vasco. So for our listeners, he's a quarterback from Oscar Smith High School, a place where you recruited a ton out of the 757. Came out of Old Dominion. He was 5 for 18 with 2 interceptions after leading a prolific offense. What do you think the atmosphere did for a quarterback like that? Do you think like maybe he was rattled, like some of his passes were a little off base? Like, do you think the atmosphere played involved there?
Absolutely. There's no doubt that, crowd atmosphere matters. It does. And you can, of course, I did it for 4 years, so I have a pretty good idea. I've been in some hostile environments. And I've seen great football players get intimidated by the crowd, especially like happened the other night when things are going not perfect for you as an offensive team, like the quarterback was for Coastal. And, the crowd's very into it, and he's throwing bad balls, and it just gets in your helmet. You have to be a very mature player. And you see guys in NFL do that. It's just a factor. And I thought the crowd very much, as the first half went along the other night, the crowd was a huge part in the victory. It was very intimidating. And I think the Sun Belt is not, a lot of the kids aren't, ready for that. Now, I would say this along with that, our team needs to get ready because Georgia Southern is one of the loudest crowds in the nation. It is going to be with the James Madison boys coming down. The welcome mat will not be out next week, when we get down there, because Georgia Southern has a large crowd. We got beat down there 2 years ago, didn't it, if I'm mistaken? So
us were there, Coach. We remember it very well.
Yeah. So anyway, and I've been to Georgia Southern. We played down there when I was at Marshall. Then we played the national championship game at Youngstown when I was at Marshall. It's a great crowd, but they're right. There's no track around the stadium at Georgia Southern, so the fans are right on top of you.
Hey, Mickey, I want to ask you one last question because you're somebody who always valued special teams play. And one thing we've seen from the staff early and often is their willingness to be very creative, particularly on 2-point conversion attempts and onside kicks. What did you think of the pop pass on the 2-point conversion? Because it seemed to catch everyone off guard in the stadium. But again, a great play by everyone involved, especially in the catch at the end of it to put 2 more points on the board.
Yeah, we used to do that. We did it. My son Clayton did some of the guys watching, I'm sure my ex-players, we did a lot of that stuff.
You definitely called it with Rodney Landers. I remember that.
Yeah, we did pass. That. I can't remember, I can't remember how many times I 3-putted yesterday, but I do remember that we did that some and hit some 2-point plays against some people. I tell you what's good about that. Anytime people do things like that and you see it on film, you have to spend time on Tuesday and Wednesday working on that instead of working on the other teams, like base plays. Georgia Southern's going to see that on film. And instead of them spending the entire practice working on our offense or our defense, they're going to have to stop practice and show the guys what it looks like and what are the possibilities, because anytime you see that, well, they could have done this, they could have done that. And it just, from a preparation standpoint, it's a pain. It is a pain in the butt. There's no doubt about it. So I like that. I like stuff like that. I think it's terrific.
Awesome. Well, Mickey, we promise you we'd get you back to the wedding. So take Kay out on the dance floor. Let us know if the Bee Gees are playing yet. But as always, Coach, it's the highlight of our week getting you on. And again, to see your dedication to the audience and to the show coming to us from a wedding, it's pretty special. But we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts, hopefully after another win next week over Georgia Southern.
Yeah, Kay and I may go down to the game today. That's not very far from here. That'd be. Is it a night game?
My 4 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 4 o'clock's a night game. Okay. We may run down there. Okay. But y'all are great. Go Dukes. Love y'all.
Go Dukes. Go dance, Mickey. Talk to you soon. All right. And with that, man, always a win when Mickey Matthews is on the program.
It's always a good time.
He's always a good time. And I have a feeling his night is just getting started. So, and with that, we are going to transition to our next segment. As always, like to give you the player perspective. And when we can, and our player perspective this week is brought to you by the Montpelier Collective. It's our Montpelier Collective Athlete Spotlight.
It's not the two of us. We're waiting on Jacob to come on.
Yes, I was like, you introduce him. You got to see.
All right. Well, I wasn't sure.
All right. Okay.
Just us. All right. So we're bringing Jacob.
I'll bring him on. Here you go, Jacob.
When the thing showed up, it was me and Michael, and I'm like, good God Almighty, that's a really big letdown for people watching on YouTube.
A very fitting introduction for a linebacker.
So now we at least got you on, which is good. Big win for Detroit today. Congratulations on the big win over the Cowboys.
Well, that was good to see after last year's drama with tackle not reporting and stuff. It was good to give the Cowboys a nice beating. But guy in my spot, hopefully I'm a fan of all 32 NFL teams at the end of this year. So I'll root for the Lions now, but definitely hopefully I'm rooting for whatever team values me enough to hopefully play for them one day.
You'll play with whatever uniform they put on you. You'll play.
Flicker.
What was that?
Did you see they ran the same flea flicker play, or at least a very similar concept? That was awesome.
We were in football today, but catching up on some of the highlights on Twitter and stuff, I saw the Taylor Thompson flea flicker made an appearance to the Detroit Lions. So they're smart coaches. They mimic good coaches. So that was great to see.
So how did you feel about the Coastal game on Thursday in terms of your recap and kind of the way the team played?
Yeah, I mean, we put it to bed today, so it was great to, be able to move on officially from that game and start preparing for Georgia Southern. But, just really, happy with the way we executed in all three phases of the game. Just from a guy who's getting to experience JMU Nation in Bridgeforth in my first year here, that stadium was electric. I mean, the fans, the students, I really appreciated the students, showing up early for warmups, staying and being loud. And then, for me, it felt like it was NCAA 25. Like, I thought the stadium pulse was crazy. It was pretty cool to not be able to talk to each other on third down. Like, I thought our fans and everybody involved did a phenomenal job. And, that was my highlight of the game, just the way, everybody came together, fans, players, coaches, staff. I mean, it was just, an A+ all the way around. And, we got a huge test against Georgia Southern this week. So excited for that.
You ever been somewhere where the other team gets booed at 50 minutes before the kickoff during the warmups when they jump out and we had 8,000 students probably already in there?
I have not. And that is pretty powerful. Like, I don't think people realize the, effects that it has sometimes on guys when they're walking into a hostile environment. So that's a huge advantage for us to be able to, have that kind of impact on the game from a fan perspective.
Well, they ran down to the student section and flipped them off. That's what they did, which was,
that was great. I mean,
that just doesn't seem very smart.
Yeah, it's a distraction. Like, you're already in their head, and it's not even the start of the game. So credit to our fans who helped impact that game just as much as we did as players.
Michael, I'll go to you.
Yeah. So Jacob, I got a quick question for you, and then we'll maybe put Coastal to bed and move on to Southern. But I know with one of your interviews with Dave Riggard, you mentioned you wanna make it hard for yourself to even hear the calls at home games because the crowd is so loud. Tell us a little bit about, number one, what was that like? And then also, what adjustments did you have to make with communication, sideline to sideline there? Just because, I'll be honest, I've been going to football games, obviously not as long as some of the co-hosts here in this wonderful program, but that was probably the loudest I've ever heard Bridgeforth. And I'm curious what it was like for you, communicating with your teammates on the field.
Yeah, so, we practiced all those kinds of things. Like, we'll mix up hand signals throughout the week and, other things of that nature so that we can have like kind of a silent communication. But, in terms of the player communication stuff, like, you'll constantly see me like covering my ears just so that I can hear the little mic in the helmet. And for the Gardner Webb game, I did like a little bit, the equipment staff did a little bit of tape over it to kind of block out some of the stuff, but sometimes that messes with the padding in the helmet. So recently I've been just covering my ears, but it's a lot of fun. Like, I think that's great when I'm having trouble just hearing that, because I know it's harder for an offense who has all that communication to get set and get everybody on the same page. Defensively, we're fully prepared for that with, some of the stuff we do with hand signals and things of that nature. So it's really great when you're a defense and you can't really communicate with each other because, the offense is in an even worse spot in terms of their communication. So I hope our fans keep that up, and I know they will keep it up, but we're going to keep putting a product on the field that they can be proud of and be excited about so that they do bring that kind of energy.
Yeah, you'll have a big chunk down at Georgia Southern, but I was going to also mention the line play. I thought the defensive line play Saturday night was the best I've seen. I don't think we got a sack, or maybe we did, but he got his offensive lineman pushed into him. Vasco had the O lineman pushed into him every freaking play, which allowed you and Trent and everybody else just to kind of have a great time just smacking whoever you want to smack. Did you see that? I'm sure you saw that as well.
The defensive line played out of their minds. I thought, like, the way, the game went, we were able to fit the run with not as many guys as we thought we were originally going to need to. So when you can play with a lighter box and fit the run with just, 5-6 guys on any given play and, put a little bit more guys in coverage, it's a huge problem for the offense. And I thought the defensive line, like I think I said it in the post game, they wrecked the game. Like, those guys inside and on the edges. I mean, they were mean, they were violent, they were nasty. They were taking on 2-3 guys at the same time, really defeating those blocks and making an impact on the play. So when you're at the second and third level and, you're just running around untouched, you better make the play. This is, Division I FBS football. So when you have a defensive line that plays at that level, it's expected to be able to perform the way we did, at the second and third level. But those guys, it started up front and, they did a phenomenal job. It was so awesome to see.
Well, that Coastal offensive line's good. I mean, that is not a weak offensive line. That's a very, very good offensive line, and they just got dominated by us.
Yeah, I think they've only given up 2 sacks the entire year, and they've played some pretty good competition so far. Like obviously they played UVA, so I mean it was, the defensive line play was stellar, and I know those guys are excited to build off of it. They're really excited to move on and have this next test, and really just excited to keep building off of that.
Yeah, I mean Ethan's a very good quarterback as well. I mean he just got completely rattled, I think, when he got pushed into, and then you guys were just, I mean he just kept getting hit. It was phenomenal to watch, even down on the field. And I was down on the second quarter watching those 22 points get scored, and it felt like Carolina all over again. I told Stephen Laporta that he needs to sign me to an NIL deal to keep me on the field for the second quarter, so that we continue to score.
Well, if we're scoring points like that, Steve, I mean, I don't know what strings I got to pull, but we'll make sure you're on the sideline for every quarter because listen, whatever we got to do to make sure that happens and continues to happen, I'm all for it. So you just tell me what I need to do personally.
I'm just teasing. Not at all. The Duke Club will take care of me. I'll be down there on the second quarter at Georgia Southern too. Those people will. That's a hostile crowd. They will. They'll boo me as I walk down there, which I love. I love when they boo me. It's great.
Yeah, I don't think many of us are going to get a warm welcome, but we wouldn't have it any other way. And I think it's a great opportunity and a great college football environment and against a great team. So really excited about it.
Yeah, when I walked down there in the stadium last time 2 years ago, the first thing one of the students came up to me and said, "F JMU," and I said, "Yeah, F Southern."
Yeah.
So it started just like that. So
yeah, that's how they are, by the way, Jacob. Like Southern fans are really something else.
Yeah, I'll let you guys engage with them. I'll focus on the game. I'll let you guys handle all the extracurriculars in the stands, and hopefully put a product in the field that you guys can cheer about, and maybe talk a little smack in the stands.
Jacob, I got 2 more questions for you. I think number one, I saw somewhere earlier today where your former teammate, at Holy Cross, Terrence Spence, I think has 4 interceptions on the year, which ties how many interceptions he had at Holy Cross. Tell me, walk me through, because I think you guys came in the same recruiting class. He's grown. You guys have grown together. Obviously, came to JMU together. How does that feel to see a player like that, a teammate like that, just really progress during his time here?
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal to see. And I saw the flashes of greatness and stuff, with him throughout his career at Holy Cross. And then, I think the last couple of years, really, he went against Jalen Coker every single day in practice, who's obviously on the Carolina Panthers active roster, was the leading receiver for the Carolina Panthers last week. So anytime you're going against that competition in practice, the last, 4 years of your life, it obviously set him up for great success. And then coming here, I think we have a phenomenal receiving corps. So he got to go good on good against those guys every single day. All those guys are phenomenal receivers. And I think it helped him, continue to develop his game. And, he's a guy who's extremely committed and works extremely hard every single day, brings it to practice energy-wise every single day. So, it's not surprising to see him have the success he's having because I've been watching the way he practices the last 5 years. So it is really cool to see, though. That guy's my brother, and just so happy that he's reaping the rewards of all his hard work.
That's awesome. Well, before we move to a question about Southern, I just want to say, in the last 3 years, aka how many years Jamie's been in FBS, we've beaten Coastal a total of 142-21. And I just want to say thank you for keeping that tradition alive, and we'll do it again next year.
You're welcome.
So looking at Georgia
Southern, help, but I unfortunately, I said I wish I could be here next year to help, but unfortunately, the eligibility is up now after playing in the 5th game. So I am college football out, unfortunately. But if you guys want to, if Steve, I know he has the law background. If you can work some magic, I was
gonna say, Steve can find maybe another year or 2. We'll see.
I'll be able to college football as long as I can, Steve. So whatever you got to do, figure it out, please.
All right, we'll file a lawsuit to get you to play another year.
Love it.
Jacob, quick question for you, and then we'll let you run here. So we got Georgia Southern coming up. So Steve alluded to it. 2 years ago, first year in FBS, we blew a 17-0 lead to lose that game 45-38, and was our first. It was when we were ranked for the first time in the AP poll. and they spoiled that weekend. Over the last 2 years, they've been a really big pass-heavy team. I know they've got a new offensive coordinator. You've probably seen some tape already. Without obviously giving away any trade secrets, what do you see out of this Georgia Southern team? Obviously, they've shown a lot of resilience following the Marshall matchup where they came back and won. But what have you seen so far, and what can the Dukes, be prepared for this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your last point, I mean, they're a very resilient team. They fight till the end, so it's going to take a full 60 minutes, may take more football to beat them. They're never out of the game, no matter what the score is. So we know it's going to take our best, and it just comes down to, our effort and execution every single day during practice. But, I was watching them, got a little bit of jump on the film with, the Thursday game. They're phenomenal. I mean, I thought that Coastal provided some schematic issues with us, but Georgia Southern, they might be even better in terms of their schematic. So it's going to be a big challenge for our defense, and they got some really, really talented guys. I think their offensive line plays really well together. Their quarterback, it was really hard to see him take that hit in the game. I was watching the game live against Marshall. I hope he's okay, because that was a pretty scary hit. But their other quarterback came in and executed at a really high level. So clearly both those guys are phenomenal football players and can lead that offense at a high level. Their running backs are very good. Their tight ends are athletic. They move them. They can do just about anything. They can block. They can catch. I mean, they're a very versatile team. They're going to try to get the ball in the perimeter and move really fast. And it's going to be a great challenge to us. So really looking forward to the opportunity to compete against a great team next Saturday.
Well, guess who's the do you know who in the first 6 games do you know who the leader is in defense at JMU?
In terms of
everything, just stats on defense.
The only thing I'll pay attention to is making sure my 111th is executed the best of my ability. Anything other than that, I leave my parents and anybody who likes cheering for 27. But
it is you. So you're the leader for us, and Marquise Watson-Trent, the linebacker at Georgia Southern, is the leader for them. So the 2 linebackers are kind of the leading guys, and he's good. I mean, he's very good. They've got a solid, better defense than people give them credit for. People say, they don't play any defense. That's not true. And their offense is really good. I think they got a better offense than Coastal. So it's they're a good team. I have all the faith and trust in you. I'll turn it over to Jonathan, let him ask one more question, but I'm looking forward to seeing you guys down at Georgia Southern. We'll have a lot of purple down there, so don't worry. It'll be loud.
I appreciate that, Steve.
Well, Jacob, final question is I went back and looked at the first time we ever had a chance to meet you was on February 3rd. It was at the Atlantic Union Bank Center. And the one thing that all of us came away from after that conversation was I didn't think we'd ever met anybody who was new to JMU who was as excited about his initial experience on campus as you were. I just want to ask you, now that you're kind of a veteran in your JMU experience, you're 6 games into your season. Has it surpassed your expectations? Especially what you've done in the field has been great, but to be as embraced, not only you, but your fellow Holy Cross teammates who have come here and have all been successful and have all shined in their own ways. How has it been, and did it surpass your expectations for what you thought on February 3rd?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, I mean, it blew it out of the water, quite frankly. I mean, just like running out of that, tunnel on Saturdays in Bridgeforth, Thursday last week. And then, the Marching Royal Dukes are the best in the business. I love those guys. I mean, what they bring to the table too, like running out for a band. I mean, that for me is like, that gets me pretty going. Like, I love, running through that band, running down towards the student section. I mean, it gives me chills and like just thinking about it. I mean, it is everything you dream of when you're a kid and you want to play big time college football. And then just the support from the fans, the community, just how engaged and supportive everybody is. I mean, it surpassed all expectations. I couldn't even fathom, just having, this kind of fan support and really just that game day experience. It's unbelievable. It's a true advantage to have that kind of crowd and that kind of support behind you every single Saturday. And then just the way we traveled too was really impressive. I mean, Charlotte, at the end of the game, it was a sea of purple, which was pretty cool. And, hopefully that theme continues down the road here as we get deeper into Sunbelt play. But, to answer the question, it blew it out of the water. I'm so blessed to be here and just so excited, to continue to be a part of JMU Nation for the next half of the season.
All right, Jacob. So what's on tap for Dave and Dobbs this week?
I'm not sure. We have an unfortunate Detroit Tigers meltdown. They blew the 2-1 series lead. Kansas City Royals are out. So it's good. It might be a really depressing segment of baseball in the show because both mine and Dave's team, unfortunately, are no longer playing. So, and my World Series picks blew up in my face on the Dave and Dobbs show. I had the Padres and the the Detroit Tigers in the World Series. So I'm 0 for 2 as a MLB analyst in my little stint on the radio. So I got to get back to the drawing board, I guess, as an analyst of sports.
Well, so you've got 2 Mets fans on here, so we will take you on the Mets bandwagon. Although the game has not started off so great for us so far, but
I mean,
they're playing right now, aren't they?
they're playing the Dodgers. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a Subway Series, we're going. I mean, we're heading up to New
100%.
York. Oh, hell yeah, we're going up.
I'm not a big
Awesome.
Yankees guys. Big Mert in the other room is a huge Yankees guy, and I'm a little bit torn. The Guardians just beat the Tigers, and now the Yankees are playing them, so it's really a lose-lose having to watch that series. But I am going to be rooting for the Mets. Then that's a good excuse to root for the Mets.
That's the correct answer.
What kind of pizza? What are you getting? What pizza are you getting tomorrow? Do you already know?
I went with the deluxe last time. It had like all the meats on there. It was really good. I do like the Mike's hot honey pepperoni. That is a classic. The sauce is phenomenal. Sweet sauce, thin crust, can't beat it.
It was a blast when I had lunch there a couple of weeks ago to watch you guys, and the food was excellent. I mean, I hadn't had Lito's pizza till that day, and then got to watch you guys, which was a blast.
Oh yeah, no, it's some good pizza. If anybody's listening and they want to come see Dave and Dobbs tomorrow, we're 12-1, and feel free to stop by Lito's. Phenomenal pizza.
Awesome. Thank you, Jacob. As we always say, man, you lead everything you do first class. You're always accessible, and you are the best example of what a student athlete is in this new environment. And just continue doing what you're doing both on and off the field, because it's incredible to see you shine in the short period of time you've been here. And I know you're just getting started. So again, all the best to you and your teammates as we move forward, and we'll see you down in Georgia.
Thank you, John. It was a pleasure seeing you guys tonight.
Awesome. And then with that, we're going to bring Taylor Atkins into the discussion. Steve and Michael, we'll see you guys in a few minutes. But our next segment is going to be a man who needs no introduction, but somebody who I couldn't think of anybody better to talk to on a night like this after what was an incredible display of JMU at its finest on Thursday night. And that is Athletics Director Matt Roan. Matt, first of all, thanks for coming to us on a Sunday night. I do have to ask, are the pom-poms a part of your wife's a promise to the free swag to the JMU Nation that she made when we saw her down on the last road trip?
Swag with like 15 A's there, right? Between the W and the G, the way that she elongated that. But no, I thought the pom-poms were a great addition to our fan engagement, to our game experience, and we're excited for a few more surprises the rest of the season.
So Matt, I want to start off the conversation because you did something on Thursday night that may be part of your repertoire that you've done in your previous spots, but I had personally not seen someone in your position be as just in the moment so willing to put a video out on social media showing your genuine appreciation to the fans. It's just something that caught my eye, and it was something that I truly appreciated, because it was great to see what appeared to be such a genuine response from you in that moment. Just take us inside, how that came to be, and just why it was so important for you to not wait until a future press conference or a future moment to recognize what happened on Thursday night.
Yeah, well, I think it was obviously stemmed from conversations with Jeff Poglace, our Deputy Athletics Director, and Melissa Wyant, our Assistant AD, for our fan engagement. It's really just a part of the overall strategy to let people know just how much we appreciate the work. And it's not just our fans, right? But it's students, it's faculty, it's staff, it's campus, it's this broader community, JMU Nation, just how much we appreciate all of the work, all of the attention, the detail that went into making Thursday night a success. And so when we went out and to plan this, and Jeff Poglace really led it from our athletics department, we said that we wanted academic and athletic excellence to coexist, right? So how we did our class schedule, how we did tailgating, the game itself, the post game, everything that went into it, that was just my way of saying thank you. And we're going to look forward to expounding on that tomorrow with the message to the overall campus community. But we're excited for the next time we get to host a Thursday night, because what we did is show that we could do it really well.
Yeah, Matt, I mean, we touched on it a little bit earlier, where so much, whether it was the coastal media affiliates, whether it was Dan Mullen, whether it was the ESPN guys, everyone was kind of making unsolicited comments about the fan environment that I didn't feel were something that had to be made. I mean, they kind of went out of their way to do it. And, as fans, obviously the bragging points, it looked cool on TV. It was loud. It was a great fan atmosphere. But talk about, from an administrative aspect, what are the benefits to the type of showing that we just put on national TV on Thursday night, outside of just the bragging points of how loud it was and how good it looked?
Yeah, I think, Taylor, the one thing that it's not lost on me is this isn't something that just happened on Thursday night, right? It's the third of 3 sellouts this year. It's ever since we've been FCS or ever since we've been FBS, but even before we were FCS, JMU Nation shows up. Our students vote with their feet and they show up. And so this isn't a recent phenomenon. It is something that is becoming a tradition. There's a pattern, and there's no reason to believe that it's going to stop. I hope that it only gets better and it only gets bigger as we look at different things of how we can make it, in fact, bigger and better. But I think the benefits, and I talked about this on our pregame show, it helps us in recruiting, right? When 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds turn on the TV and they say, hey, JMU's recruiting me, and they see that and they see that score, that helps. But it's not just student athletes. It's not a secret that we had 42,000 applications for this most recent freshman class. A lot of students watch Thursday night football. Our alums gave back last year at the second highest fundraising year in the institution's history, and it just so happened that happened outside of a campaign even. And so our alums are turning on the TV, they're watching. People that know about JMU are engaging with us, prospective students, prospective student athletes. And so I think the benefits are limitless.
Well, and kind of going off of the the impact of the media, and I'm trying to bring up the stat right here. There was that property media valuation chart and information that came out recently, and JMU was heads and shoulders above the rest of the conference.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about what those numbers mean and kind of explain what that graph was showing in terms of JMU's value from a property value?
Yeah, I think when you look at that, so that coming out was the result of Sam Kanehans, who was our senior associate commissioner for communications and maybe brand management. I might be butchering Sam's title, but he's with the Sun Belt Conference. And that was a presentation that he gave the ADs at our spring meeting down in Destin in May. He also gave it to the president's chancellor's CEO group in June in Atlanta. And I was impressed with it. President King was impressed with it. And so he wanted to share that information with our board. And so Sam came to our most recent board meeting in September and gave that presentation to our full board. And what it really shows is, again, how many people are watching us and then how many people are talking about us on X and Facebook and Instagram and all those sorts of things. And when you add all of those things up, to your point, Taylor, heads and shoulders, no comparison, in my opinion. We are the strongest brand. We have more brand engagement than any other of the 13 schools in the Sun Belt. And that's valuable.
So Matt, this week on a ESPN Richmond program, you talked about now entering into a master plan process, looking at facilities, not just for football, but across the board at JMU Athletics, because as something I really liked what you said, and it was a continuation of what your predecessor said, is that we're a full athletic program. We're an everything school that values the entire student athlete experience. Kind of talk to that facilities plan and what that looks like, but also how fans can be involved in terms of input and feedback to make that as robust and comprehensive of a plan as possible.
Yeah, Jonathan, I don't mean this in any other way than the way I'm going to say it, but that master plan really is not a surprise. President King, ever since July 1, has talked about, I want to update our master plan. I've gone on record, whether it's on the radio or whether it's in written communications, several times of talking about we're going to update the university's master plan. Now, specifically to athletics, we will kind of focus that and do a little bit more, right, where some conceptual renderings, some cost estimates will come out of that, as opposed to just saying, hey, here is a building and where it will go. For us, one of the things that we really want to do are to kind of do a feasibility study, if you will, to find out for certain facilities, including Bridgeforth, right, what is the proper number of seats? What is the allocation of seats versus premium spaces? And we want to do those concepts because we want to have conversations with potential donors. We want to have conversations with potential partners in those processes to say, hey, here's what we think we need. But we're going to ask for people's help to accomplish and to really make reality that vision. And so it will be an exchange of information, and we've got to show them something, but we've got to get people involved to where we can make it actually come to fruition.
Matt, I want to go back to John's previous comments about the video you did after the game. I think that was great because I think it just shows it allows the JMU Nation to continue to get to know you, and shows how much you appreciate what was not only done Thursday but has been done all season. And I think this is not to put. I'm not putting down another program, but this weekend I watched a little bit of the Louisiana App State game. Louisiana has had multiple great seasons in the last few years. They're coming off of a big win against their own ACC opponent in Wake Forest, and they're hosting one of the better known G5 programs in the country. And they did not have a full stadium. I mean, there were people there, but and I would say that the crowd that they had is probably similar to a lot of G5 programs, which again makes how impressive Bridgeforth continues to be full week after week important. And, I think a lot about how, the fans will say, we can't control what's on the field. But coaches and players, I think they say, well, we can't control the fans. They can go out there and win as many games as they can. But at the end of the day, there is a value to the program that the fans play. And I think your video kind of goes towards pushing that narrative to the fans. Even if we win out every game for the rest of the season, even if we go and win a championship, the value of the program to the recruits, to new hires and the administration, and to the media is, but what does that winning do for the fan base? And so just it's maybe not so much a question, but just to kind of put the cherry on top of that video that you put, just the message to fans on why it is so important to continue doing what they're doing and the impact it can have for JMU football long term.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the person who I replaced as a guest on this show. But everything that Jacob Dobbs said, first off, I'm incredibly impressed with that young man. Yeah. He is a leader in every sense of the word. I could not have said it better myself, how he talked about his experience with JMU, the pride, the passion, just how good it makes him feel to be a part of this place. That is how I feel. That message was me manifesting, trying to articulate just how special this place is to me, how special it is to my family. And frankly, my wife does pregame fashion reveals. And so this is my way of trying to keep up with her in some ways to say, hey, I care too, right? I want to be visible as well. But, Taylor, winning is it's not a strategy, right? So when we host a Thursday night game or host a Saturday game, whether we're 10-2 or 2-10 and hopefully 12-0, if we show up night after night, day after day, then we're going to have a better chance of being undefeated than we're going to have otherwise. And this is everybody pulling the rope in the same direction. And that's truly, when people talk about what makes JMU different, it's that. It's everybody pulling the rope in the same direction. It's the alignment. It's the culture. It's the values. And I just cannot say thank you enough for that.
Matt, I wanted to ask you, because obviously you go to the same conferences as athletic directors in the P4, and a lot of these people who are making decisions. What kind of messages are you receiving after a performance like that from your peers? Because I imagine they're tuning into Thursday Night Football. They're curious what's happening on campus, especially with articles like The Athletic and things that have put this program maybe in front of some people that maybe not traditionally paying attention to James Madison. What kind of messages do you receive? And does that matter maybe more than even we realize with all the big decisions that are happening in boardrooms around the country is in this ever-changing landscape of college athletics?
Yeah, so I'll say I think my friends and a lot of my peers in this industry, before I got this job, right, as I'm talking to them, as I'm going through the process, they had nothing but good things to say about JMU. Since I've been here, I received a lot of communications when we were in Raleigh at the baseball regional. I certainly had a lot of texts and calls when I was pulling out of Chapel Hill a few weeks ago, and I did get some calls and texts on Thursday night into Friday morning. But the message that I hear over and over and over, and it's what I believe, and it's what I'll again try to articulate to the people who are listening, is there is nothing mid-major about this place. There is nothing group of five about this place. This is to use Jacob Dobbs' words, this is a big time major college football, major college athletics department that rivals anywhere else in the country.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this, is we have a relationship, as we've been pretty candid, transparent about, with the Montpelier Collective. And the reason I want to ask you this question is we're still in a growth period where people are still understanding and learning about exactly what role the collective plays. Why is it important? What would be your messages? I know you've mentioned it on multiple occasions, why support for the Duke Club is important. But especially now, as this program continues to see success, not only on the football field, but success in so many sports on campus. And as we head into a men's basketball season, where we're all very optimistic about what Preston is doing and what Sean's doing with the women's program, what would be your message about why fans should consider adding the Montpelier Collective to their suite of support for James Madison as kind of a comprehensive approach to giving?
Yeah, Jonathan, I think, our fans, I know this well enough now that how we go about our business, right? The class which we exhibit, the respect, again, the culture pieces that we maintain, I know that is important. But I also know that our fan base wants to win. And you win with people. And when you give to the Duke Club, you give us a chance to hire and to retain the best coaches in the country that will develop and pour into our student athletes and develop relationships with them and provide transformational experiences. When you give to the Montpelier Collective, you give us the chance to recruit and retain the best student athletes in the country. And you win with people. And if we can match great coaching and great staff with talented young men and young women on the field who are high character, high potential, again, the limitless possibilities exist here.
Awesome. Well, and if you're inspired by what Matt just said, MontpelierCollective.com, get your Coach for a Day raffle ticket, as we're going to mention one more time. They are still available because, again, as Matt said, this is not just about the football team. This is about every program on campus having the best possible opportunity to be successful in whatever they do. And that's where the collective is continuing to make that possible. Matt, just any final thoughts you have before we let you go back to your Sunday?
No, I'm again, I pinch myself every single day that I get to wake up, that I get to go into Godwin Hall, as crazy as that sounds, right? That I get to go into Godwin Hall and work there. But to have the opportunity to try to make a positive difference on behalf of so many people who are passionate about JMU and support the Dukes every single day. We are incredibly fortunate to have the fan base that we do. We are incredibly fortunate to have the Montpelier Collective, the leadership that's in place there. The fact that it is JMU over any ego or any selfish desire. Everybody is pulling the rope in the same direction. We as an administration want to make sure that we're doing our part, that we're being helpful, that we're an equal partner in this process, that it's not just the collective, it's not just JMU athletics, it's us, it's we, and not the other way around.
Well, Matt, I look forward to your fashion reveals once Mallory hears you call.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
You never know. It'll pop up on Instagram one of these days. But
that's right.
Again, as always, thank you for your accessibility. Thank you for continuing to lead with transparency and being out there, because I do think it's noticed and it matters, and it's going to only help us as we all continue to try to push this program to where we all know is possible, because there's no limits for this, and you've led with that from day one, and just from everybody that's a part of this program. Just want you to know how appreciated it is, and also continue to offer you the platform anytime you want, as we continue to work with you and row in the same direction to get us where we can all want to be.
Absolutely, Jonathan. Anytime, anything you guys need from me, you guys are the best. And anytime you would like me to join you, I'd be happy to.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Yep. Bye. All right. And with that, we'll bring back Michael and Steve. Man, did he give some good quotes tonight about the limitless potential of this university. I feel like we got to get on a shirt somewhere that there's nothing mid-major about JMU.
I was gonna say the same thing, John. That was gonna be the clip moment right there.
Copyrighted. No, but that's just an awesome exchange, and guys, obviously so much to talk about tonight from what we heard, but I can't think of an episode from Mickey showing his dedication to the program, showing up at a wedding, to Jacob Dobbs just being Jacob Dobbs. I mean, my goodness, that talk about a man that has great things in his future, whatever he chooses to do, and then obviously what Matt has done from day one here as a part of this university. Steve, any thoughts after our conversation with Matt? Because I know you had the opportunity to work so closely with him on every aspect of trying to move this program into the future.
Yeah, I think what he said, there's a lot he said that we can unpack, but the thing that kind of caught me is I like what they're going to do in terms of the master plan and in meeting with our stakeholders. There's a lot we can do on that other side build out that could be a lot of fun. And I think part of that's a fundraising. It's always a fundraising piece, is if you're talking with stakeholders, how much you also want to give. But at the end of the day, I think there's some cool stuff to do over there. I'd like to see, kind of a platform that you could, similar to what Charlotte has, similar to what Georgia State has, something where it's an area that you can walk around in and stand back there along with seats. I mean, I don't know how that all works, but all that stuff's on the table. So I think, parking, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I like him looking at that. My vision of it's, I don't know what his vision is. I mean, we haven't had the conversation, but I'd like to see us do it in stages. I'd like to see us get up to 33,000 in the first stage and build the infrastructure to take it up to 42, if that's what the plan says. I don't know if that's where it'll end up, but in my mind, I think we could put 32, 33 in there now, with probably no problem. So again, I don't know how it's going to be staged, but I like the way he's thinking, and I like how he's going to include the community, going to include stakeholders, and I just loved Jeff Bourne. So hopefully nobody takes this the wrong way, and Jeff won't take it the wrong way. But I like new young vision. I know that makes me sound old, but Jeff and I are Jeff's a little bit older than me. I'm going to be 62 soon. Matt Roan's 40. And, somebody's been an athletic director as long as he has at age 40, and he's been in, Nichols, and he's been at, at Eastern Kentucky, and he's seeing really good things. I like what he's doing. And I kind of like what we've seen since April. It just feels good. I mean, when I saw that on Thursday night, I got choked up like I did at UVA when we beat UVA. It just looked different and great. So,
yeah. Just breaking news: Mike Norwood says he's on the shirt. So stay tuned. Where's Woody.com? So that's the real-time communication. No, I'm so glad you said that, because I also continue to find myself in a state of amazement when I see things like that. Like I have been pretty candid in saying I don't usually like whiteouts and purple outs and blackouts, and I have my JMU shirt that I want to wear to games, and I wear it. But I was truly mesmerized by the scene, mostly looking at the students. It was impossible not to notice how early they were there, how engaged they were, and it was, for me, impossible to not think that just something has happened, whether it's the video game and the impact that has on students, that now they can play as James Madison, if it's the continued exposure on national platforms, a combination of all of it. But the students have embraced this in a way that I don't even know if I ever thought was possible. And to have that all come together on a cool, crisp fall night against Coastal, a team that, as we all said last week, we all love to hate, it was special. And all of us had that same reaction. And it seems like, based on the social coverage and to see an athletic director who's been here for 6 months or so have that same reaction, and to be so willing to communicate it in real time, not to wait for a formal press conference, not to wait for an email that was crafted by his communications team. It was him to camera, and it was at the moment in time where the buzz around the program was at its highest. And that's something to me that I've really noticed, is this athletic director gets social media, and he gets the importance of programs like this and the other podcasts in the JMU world, and the impact that new media can have. And the fact that was the first thing he turned to is not something that should be glossed over, because I think it's an important sign of what's to come for Matt Roan as he tries to inspire JMUers to give in ways maybe they haven't in the past. Taylor, I'll come to you now. Anything on your mind, whether it was the game or your reaction to what happened on Thursday? Because I know you had a lot of thoughts as well.
I do. I still want to go. I want to still stay on Matt Roan for a second here,
please.
because kind of my comments again. If there's anyone from the Sun Belt or Louisiana listening to this, it was to not knock on their program, but there's a lot of really good G5 football programs out there that are having 4-2, 5-1 seasons where the crowds are just not there, because the culture of football is just not as strong as what it has been at JMU. And we've talked a lot about this before, but we're one game away from saying we've had 22 seasons without a losing record. And so there's a culture that exists here, and JMU fans have known it for decades now, but it's just now hitting the national spotlight. And I think so much that's hitting the national spotlight is they're recognizing that JMU has been overlooked on a national scale because they realize this hidden gem has been there all along. And I think that's the message you've seen in a lot of the college game days. And, I don't want to use too much time to highlight other programs on here, but UVA, if some of you all saw the crowd that was at their stadium this weekend, they were 4-1, which is one of the best 5-game opening record for UVA in the last decade or so. And the stadium was about a third full, maybe close to half full on a beautiful day in Charlottesville. And I've heard it was fall break for the students. And I said, okay, well, that explains why 5,000 people are missing. Where are the other 50,000? And on the other hand, you've had Virginia Tech that I saw post a graphic that they've sold out the entire season for the first time since 2012. But talk about a program that has had more disappointment already in the first half of the season than most will experience in a few years. I mean, that the hype behind this Virginia Tech team, everyone picking them as a college football playoff black horse, and the loss to Vanderbilt, the way they lost the Miami game, the way they lost the Rutgers game. And still, that's why there's a perceived value with Virginia Tech's program that doesn't exist with UVA, even though UVA has started out the better season. And I think that's why the value, I was talking about that property value valuation that was put out. That's why there's a higher value on JMU compared to the rest of the Sun Belt, despite these programs. They've been here longer. They've had success longer. They've probably been in the top 25 longer. But there is something. It was JMU and App State were the only two that ranked above the Sun Belt as a whole, and then everyone else. And we continue to compare ourselves to App State because those are two programs. I think actually last year, the App State Coastal Carolina game that we remember, we saw the turnout was there. And I know many people in the JMU circles were like, man, if they can do that on Thursday night, we better be able to do the same thing and keep up with what's considered the top of the G5. And we did. And I'll leave it there, and you can come back to me on my Louisiana thoughts because I don't want to dominate the next 5 or 10 minutes. So,
but you can guarantee that ESPN's coming back to us next Thursday.
Absolutely.
Next year.
Right.
So they'll come back because they want to see this again and see what we do, just like they did game day. But we will be the rotation for the best probably game next fall, and it will be App. It'll be somebody big. It may not. It's not going to be Coastal, obviously, but it's probably be App. It may be Marshall. It's not going to be Marshall, but it'll be somebody big.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow, right, on the Southern Miss game. And I would imagine if you're just looking at the records, top of the Sun Belt JMU, bottom of the Sun Belt Southern Miss, the game itself doesn't have a lot of, but they know that a home JMU football game, even if it's against Gardner Webb, they know that there's going to be an environment and a fan base that will put a value on the TV programming that you're just not going to find at a lot of other schools.
Well, the other thing is when we're talking about things to get, and I may text Matt Roan this, we've got to get another distributed antenna system, a DAS, in the stadium for cell coverage. One thing that will keep the students there is if you can watch a video, you can watch another game, or you've got to be able to text your friends so they can find you. So we've got to make sure we put another DAS system, even if it's temporary, and we can move it over to the AUBC. We've got to get 2 of those probably to be able to handle the traffic, because when we're out those other big stadiums, we're at Louisville, we had 0 problems being on our phones. I was watching a game, watching the Louisville game. We got to make sure at JMU we can do both. So I'm going to put that in our.
I was going to say, before we talk about additional investments, I want to give a shout out to JMU itself and investing in the most important resource, and that's its people. I don't know if many of you noticed, but we've invested in a fan engagement team over the last 2 or 3 years, led by, I believe, Jake, who's sort of the stadium DJ. Thursday was phenomenal. When you think about the more TV games that we're going to have long TV timeouts, and he kept that crowd engaged. When you look at all the fun tidbits and dance shows and music and everything that was pumping up the crowd, it felt like a party. And John, I remember when we started this, 3 years ago, we were like, we want that type of atmosphere where you're going to a party, you've had a couple of drinks, and you're celebrating the Dukes on the field. We're starting to see that really play out 3 years into FBS, which I think is phenomenal. But yeah, Steve, I totally agree. I think the cell service part, I try to stay away from my phone during the game. It's a little bit taboo for me to mess around with all that stuff, just with trying to be in the moment. But yeah, I think that can keep people here. And also, Taylor, to your point, I was at a festival yesterday. So I live right outside of Charlottesville, I'm pretty sure there were more UVA fans at the fall festival than there were at the game because, quite frankly, I don't think anyone there cares anyway. So that's my thought about that. But yeah, I just love hearing from Matt. I think to y'all's point, his vision and his ability to rally the troops. He did it at EKU. He's done it. He's sort of like Chesney, right? He's done it everywhere he's been in programs that, let's call it what it is, were under-resourced. There is nothing in Richmond, Kentucky. Let's call it what it is. And he was able to build in that part of the country. I imagine he'll have that same opportunity here with what he has at JMU.
Yeah, Mike, I'm just glad you mentioned the staff that's putting these game day operations things to bear, because it doesn't
100%.
just happen. The what was it, the on-field, kind of examples of the dogs that come in at the game we had that everybody loved, the on-field, mascots running around, the cheerleaders now engaging in new and creative ways with Duke Dog. I'm sure that the fireworks after touchdowns. All of that stuff takes research. All of that stuff takes hours of planning and practice to execute it properly. And we only see, it happen in real time. And if it goes great, we're like, that's awesome. And if there's an error, it's, that they feel that. And the fact that they are listening and consistently trying to make everyone feel like they're having a great time in Harrisonburg, that is going to lead to people going home and telling their friends how much fun they are. It's going to be more likely for them to post a social media thing out there saying, hey, if you haven't been to Bridgeforth in a while, get back here. They're going to give tickets away. It all builds towards future success. And every chance we get to say that does not happen accidentally. That happens because of people who are on staff, people who volunteer their time, to make this happen. It's all very, very intentional. And for the first time as a fan, you can really just see that appreciation for it grow in those, in the posts that we all look at, but you can feel it in the stadium when people are just turning to the person next to them and saying, that was awesome. That was fun. That almost matters more because it's genuine reactions in real time.
TCU the other day was offering $1 beers if you got in 45 minutes before the kickoff. And it went up every 10 minutes, all the way up to $9 beers. So it was $1 if you got in, and I think half price food. Then every 10 minutes it went up. So they had tons of people in their stadium 45 minutes before kick. I mean, Louisville did the same thing.
Awesome. Taylor, I know you wanted to come back to something else that was on your mind, and this kind of a free forum, so have at it.
Well, I just think it looking at some of the NCAA rankings, so I have some notes here that I'm going to have to look off screen to make my point. But, number 19 scoring offense in the country right now, number 1 in turnover margin. I know some numbers that we put out after the Thursday game have changed since Saturday. So we're one of 10 teams in the country that have 1 interception or less as a team. We're number 2 in interceptions as a team. We're number 5 in kickoff returns. I think that's, that extra 5 to 10 yards of starting position that we've had. I mean, that makes a difference in the long term of a game. And then the only thing that we're 80th in penalties, which is not terrible. And when I say 80th, I guess you could look at it the other way is, that's an area where I think we need to get, if we get in the top half of penalty yardage, getting that down, that's going to really help us out in the long run of the season. But, I think also there was a lot of instant and emotional reaction after that ULM game. And there was a lot of, well, there goes our playoff hopes, this playoff. First of all, I don't think that's true in the least, because there is so much that can happen the remainder of the season. And if you're just looking at rating systems don't mean anything, right? Because it doesn't affect what's on the field. But I will say, whether you're looking at the FPI, the SP Plus, whether you're looking at all these metrics, Sager and Massey, most of them still have us in the top 3. I know ESPN has us in the top 2 of the top 5 G5 programs that have the best track to make the college football playoff. So I'm going to say tonight what I've said the first few weeks: every goal is still in front of us. As it relates to the East, we control our own destiny with the East. We had that one loss that we have is in the West. So every other team that we still have a clear road to get to the championship for the Sun Belt and host. Every opportunity this team has set forth, we're halfway through the season and it's all there. And, if most people would have said, even the most optimistic, that we'd be 5-1 in this point, but just the losses would have been flipped. We would have won at Louisiana Monroe. We would have won at UNC. So I think one of the things that I said going into that Coastal game was you're going to see what type of team this is and the coaching staff and how they can prepare a team after coming off of such a major letdown in the first half of the season. And to come out and hold the number 2 scoring offense in the Sun Belt to 7 points. And really, if you go back and look at that one play that they had, I mean, I forgot who it was that tripped up. I mean, he just lost his footing. That play might not have even happened if it wasn't for that physical error, which my coach, in high school is always talking about. Physical errors I can correct. It's the mental errors that I can't. And so I just think to come out and dominate a Coastal team the way we did, a Coastal team that was really looking to be one of the top contenders in the Sun Belt, couldn't say enough about that. Couldn't say enough about the atmosphere of the fans. And I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, the students. I mean, they're having a Hall of Fame year. I know we've always had good students, but the timing they've been getting in, the filling up the stadium. And I think, John, I said this to you as I was driving into Harrisonburg, as we're sitting in Port Republic waiting to turn in. I'm like, every single student walking down that sidewalk is wearing white, which means they're paying attention. They know the importance of it. It's really easy as an 18, 22-year-old to say, whatever, dude, it doesn't matter what I wear. No, they realize that the role they have to play, and this goes back to the coaches and players can only take a program so far. There's been a lot of great winning programs where the fans just don't get into it. And right now we have the formula on the field and in the stands that's making us such a national brand in the college football landscape.
Michael, I want to get to you in a second, but I did want to mention one thing about the kind of the overreaction maybe to the ULM loss. And it's something that I'm trying to do a lot more of in my own reactions to things, is trying to step back from just looking at JMU and looking at college football as a whole. And one thing that we have seen this season is wild outcomes all across the board, programs that are favored to win games, struggling, outcomes that are much closer. And not to give us credit, but we said that going into the season as we expected kind of some wild outcomes with all this transfer portal impact that it has on every program in the country. And I hope with everything that went well on Thursday, the next time we don't play up to the standards that you individually, personally assign to what you expect to see on a Saturday, maybe a little more resiliency in terms of your reaction, not saying, our quarterback is XYZ or this coaching staff doesn't know how to do it. Because guess what? The coaching staff on a short notice came out and put together a game plan that slowed down a high-flying Coastal offense. They got our quarterback back to another 4-touchdown performance. We saw big catches, which was something we had kind of put out there against ULM that we needed to see that big catch. What happens? Our tight end makes a contested catch in the end zone. It's one of the plays of the night. We had other wide receivers who stepped up and made plays with contact on the ball. So again, we're all fans. We're going to react. But maybe before you fire off that tweet that's pretty hyperbolic in terms of what you're saying about a specific person, take a deep breath, go for a walk, and maybe turn on another game, because you're probably going to see crazy outcomes wherever you look across the college football world.
Before Michael jumps in, he threw him open. So he threw Taylor open. I mean, he put the ball exactly where only Taylor's going to get it, and the ball was gone before Taylor was in his break. I mean, that's a big-time throw, and most people aren't going to give him credit for it, especially there's clowns out there that are going to text all kinds of stuff or put it on social media. But at the end of the day, that's a big-time throw. But let Michael talk about it.
That was an NFL throw and catch. You got to look at that. You had a safety coming down, so you had to throw the ball with velocity. And as Taylor Thompson, you had to go up there and get it, and you knew you were going to get hit. So that was unbelievable. I thought he dropped it because I was on the other side of the stadium. But when he caught it, I mean, that was crazy to see. To your point, John, I think our prior staff did a phenomenal job with finding diamonds in the rough and recruiting. And we have to give Coach Chesney and his staff the praise that they're due. When you look at sort of the first half, who are the players that are standing out? You've got Eric O'Neill, who was at LIU for 3 or 4 years. You have a Terrence Spence. We have Jacob Dobbs that I think has lived up to, honestly, he probably couldn't live up to the expectations we had because he was all over the place right in the preseason. You look at Christian from UConn that's just making play over play, week over week. Like, this staff knows how to identify talent. And I think that was the biggest question part is 70 new players. Do they still have that ability to identify talent in this NIL transfer portal era? And I think we've answered that question. And if people might remember the preseason, I think the staff had to over-index to the portal because of the environment, because of what they came into. And now imagine what they can do. Let's finish the season. Let's go 12-1, whatever we need to have, right? But imagine what they can do with a full offseason with coach actually moved into his office. If anyone saw his interview with Matt Barry, he hasn't paid any attention to his office because he's been recruiting. He's been on the road. He's been doing what he needs to do to get the program in the right place, which is what you want in a head man. So that just gets me so fired up and motivated. But then to your point, John, we talked about this at the start of the year. It's not necessarily the most talented team that's going to win. We saw it last week. ULM is probably the most under-resourced program in all of FBS football. Let's call it exactly what it is. That's not a knock on them. That's their reality. The head coach that can take a group of players and build chemistry, have them play for each other, that's who's going to win in this era. And when you saw Thursday, you saw a team that they looked like they were having fun. They were rejoicing. Everyone was involved, from the sideline players to folks on the field. That Lloyd Summerall touchdown, I think the entire defense was blocking for him. And when he came back, everyone was cheering on him. You have guys that care about each other. And I think that's what Coach Chesney has brought. And you look at other programs, the UAB, for example, who has, it's just gone down into the sewer, right? Like, you look at those programs and others, there's multiple examples of programs that should have better talent, that probably have better talent, but they don't have the coaching and the ability to build chemistry and be able to really coach players to play for the name on their chest, not for the one in their back, right? So I think they've just done a great job so far.
Well, I want to mention one other thing about the sideline, and to your point about culture is, and this may not be caught by the average person, and we know him, so it's easy for me to identify it. But one of the Coach for the Day winners was Karsten Long, somebody who got to see firsthand what this staff was like in terms of how welcoming they could be and how dedicated and deliberate they were in making him feel like he was a part of the staff. Well, if you've noticed, last couple of games, Carson's been on the sidelines helping out with the team, helping out with iPads, helping to hype people up. And he has been embraced by everyone on that sideline. There was a moment in the fourth quarter where some players came to the sideline celebrating, and Karsten was dancing with them on the side. And it was just so genuine and so real. And that has been something that, at least to me, has kind of permeated and bled through every aspect of how they do things, whether they're winning or whether they're losing. And that's the type of thing, to echo your point, where you're saying, imagine what they're going to do with an offseason. Imagine what they're going to do when these players start telling their high school teammates who are on other college programs around the country. And when the word gets around of what it's like to play for this staff, the Jacob Dobbs, the Tyler Purdy's of the world, that doesn't happen just by accident. That happens because of something that was going very, very, very well. And kudos to the talent evaluators who saw that in Coach Chesney in the hiring process, because that is what is being shown in every aspect, from how they are on the field to how they are off the field. And it goes to the Coach for the Day thing. They want to bring people closer to this program to see exactly how they do things. And I think we're probably underestimating the true impact of what's going to be felt, not only in the games to come this season, but in the games to come down the road. Guys, we're kind of reaching the hour and 15-minute mark. Just any last thoughts? I know Georgia Southern, Steve, you'll be down there as well as Michael. Just your two brief thoughts about that before we wrap for the night.
Yeah, I was just looking at some stats, and I'm not going to go into them deep, but I can tell you with the G5 and FCS opponents, we're averaging 33 points a game, and our opponents 9.6 points. Georgia Southern's averaging 25 points a game, and their opponents are 26.2 points a game. And that's skewed with the Boise State game that's in there, but that's just G5 FCS. If you look at our stats for everybody, we're averaging 39 points a game. Our opponents are 16. They're averaging 30 points a game, and their opponents are averaging 30. So, it's going to be a good game. They've got some folks banged up, but they got a lot of playmakers. They get up for this game. That stadium, they'll have it rocking because we are the main attraction in the Sun Belt, and those people know it. So let's get a bunch of purple down there. Let's have some fun. And as much as they want to say FJMU, you know what I'll be saying on Saturday. Go Southern. Yeah, I tell you where you can go Southern.
All right. Michael, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this Georgia Southern game is going to show sort of the maturity of the players and maturity of the coaches. I think knowing what we know from ULM, right, like this is a game where we just need to execute. And whether we win by 2 points, 1 point, or 14 points, we just need to win. And I remember 2 years ago, if anyone remembers the game, we were up 17-0. We get a punt blocked, which then turned into a whirlwind, and we end up losing 45-38. And we were going deep on 4th and 2s, and we were throwing long balls on 3rd and 1s. And I think, we did a little bit of that at ULM, and I think we just need to go in there, trust our playmakers. And by the way, what I love about the staff is we keep finding guys. If you guys notice, the Jaden Mines, who's been with the program for 3 years, recruit from Richmond, hasn't played at all. It took the block punt at North Carolina for a touchdown. He was the one that had a 26-yard reverse, I think, in the third quarter to kick things off in the second half. This staff continues to find depth and continues to find playmakers. And I think this is a great game where we can showcase some of that and just do what we need to do. Get the first down, get the touchdowns, and execute and get out of there with a win. And that's going to be, I think it's going to show a level of maturity with the staff going forward. But I'm excited for the game. I'm excited to, they rushed the field in 2022. Remember that? We will probably be posting a lot of that for folks to be reminded about what this game will mean for us. I know we took care of business last year, but last year doesn't matter. We're back in Statesboro. We need to redeem ourselves. So excited for Saturday's kickoff.
Awesome. Taylor, any last thoughts from you?
You made a good point in our text thread, I think on Saturday, where you were saying Georgia Southern coming back and winning that game against Marshall was probably one of the best things that could happen for us, because it makes just the reality of what's on the table for this game. I mean, as you look through the East, Marshall's 3-3. They could just as easily be 9-3 by the end of the season. Georgia State, don't overlook them. They did beat Vanderbilt. Obviously, App State's going through a lot right now. Don't be surprised if they come on strong at the end. But having said all of that, this Georgia Southern game could be the game that we look back and says that this is, whoever wins this game is going to have the clearest road to the Sun Belt Eastern Division champions. So this game is a championship of sorts. Michael made the point of just the history between these two teams. 2 years ago, spoiling the AP ranking. Last year, this was a game where we really established ourselves as a contender that we were going to be something to deal with the rest of the season. And so the only other thing, and I always find a new way to say this, I think every podcast about enjoying the moment. Someone put out there that the all-time FBS winning percentage is Ohio State with a 73.5 winning percentage. And now, granted, the sample size is small, but in our 3 short years, we're at 80%. So right now, with a skewed sample size, we have the highest winning percentage of any FBS program in the nation. And again, I mentioned it a few episodes ago. This is something special, unique. Having gone through all the transitions that we've gone through, it says something about this being a JMU thing and not being one particular coach, one particular quarterback, one particular athletic administration. This is something I think all the fans should be proud of. And as I was leaving the stadium Thursday night, there were a lot of people that came up, gave hugs to, gave high fives to, and it was just like, I remember meeting that guy 20 years ago. I remember meeting that guy 15 years ago. And I remember that. And so many people have contributed different levels and different aspects and resources to this program that this is a time for everyone listening to this program and everyone you share this program with to sit back and appreciate the role that you all have played in getting us to this point today.
My final word is shout out to the kids who decorated the Duke Dog. That was awesome. If you haven't seen the pictures, all the pom-poms on Duke Dog, let's make that a tradition. Let's keep Duke Dog looking good. Guys, just want to say thank you for another great episode. Thank you to the fans who continue to support us. We probably had more people come up to us on Thursday than maybe ever before, who just genuinely appreciate what we do. And again, we're just four guys talking. And this show happens because you listen, but the show also happens because you comment on the threads and everything else and make it possible. So everybody who participated in tonight's comments section, thank you to you. It's a better show when you do that. And we're always going to recognize it whenever we can. To our sponsors, again, Montpelier Collective, so many ways you can get involved, whether it's the coach for the day, whether it's Champions Drive, first edition. The M bottles are going to be coming out towards the end of the month. You're going to get an opportunity as you get into the holiday season to find a way to support the collective. So MontpelierCollective.com. Where's Woody? Mike Norwood's already working on There's Nothing mid-major shirts, so stay tuned for that. Talent Core, Your Purple Nation, go check them out, especially as you start your Christmas shopping. Northern Virginia, Richmond, and now Virginia Beach, yourpurplenation.com. Carol's always putting up new material, new merchandise. Great way to support that small business, but also great way to give the gift of JMU to those in your lives. And then Shoker Enterprises, one last time, thank you to Joe Shoker for all he's doing to continue to help people impacted by Hurricane Helene. I know he's not going to stop that effort because it's something as close to his heart. So thank you to the entire Shoker family for their efforts. And guys, we will be back Sunday night, 8 p.m. Mickey will not be at a wedding, I don't think, next week. So well, I'm sure we'll get the recap for him. So on behalf of everybody with Jamie Sound Off, guys, we'll talk to you soon, and go Dukes.